Hi, Steve. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me this afternoon and morning here in Singapore. Really appreciate it. And good to see you again after the last event that we did a couple of months ago, if I'm not mistaken. How
Yes,
have you been?
I've been fantastic. Things have been going really well.
I love your energy. Every time I see your podcasts or I see your videos or any event that you're speaking at, you just have such a high and positive energy. There are so few people like this. So thank you so much for that because it really energizes me and I think everyone else that is watching your content. So thank you for that. To kickstart it, I just would like, to understand a little bit your background because you have such an interesting, story. You worked across tech, across media, you speak at a lot of events, you invest. So could you just walk me through, your journey? That would be awesome to just understand better what you've been up to.
Sure, I'll give you a quick overview. So I was in media. I worked in Hollywood, worked my way up to a television development executive in Hollywood. And then I got an opportunity to jump over from Hollywood into games, so video games. So I went to Japan, worked for one of the largest game companies at the time, which was Sega. And after I did that, I moved back to Silicon Valley, launched my first startup. And my first startup was bootstrapped. So I did everything myself as a game startup. Our first game we launched was Gazillionaire, which was incredibly successful. And ironically, Gazillionaire is a game that teaches people how to be entrepreneurs. So it reflects on what I do today. And I wound up staying in California and I launched 2 bootstrap startups and 3 venture funded startups out of Silicon Valley. And all of them were really at the crossroads of technology and entertainment. So that's been my specialty. I've done a lot in that area. And after my 3rd venture funded startup, I decided to take a break and I was helping my friends get funded. So they're all coming to me. My nickname is Captain Hoff. That was my gamer handle. And they're like, Captain Hoff, help me get funded. How do I do it? How do I raise capital? How do I put together an investor deck? All that stuff. So I started to help them for fun. And then I started to hear that they all had similar questions. And so I started to post these on my blog. So they went out there on my blog and I named it Founder Space, and lots of entrepreneurs started to come to me. And at a certain point, they were like, why don't you open your own accelerator here in San Francisco? So one of my friends just happened to be running one of the most popular co-working spaces, Soma Central. I went to him and he had a huge, enormous basement that wasn't being used for anything. And I said, can we launch Founder Space here? And he said, sure, let's be partners. Let's do this. So we launched Founder Space in San Francisco. This was over a decade ago. So it's been a while. And for the past decade, we've been growing Founder Space. We now have a presence in 22 countries. So we have partners in all these different countries. We do all these different deals. We have our own incubators all across China. So we've been doing a lot in Asia. And personally, I just love it. I love working with entrepreneurs. And I love it so much. I've actually written 3 different books on the subject. My first one, Make Elephants Fly, is all about the process by which startups get their ideas off the ground. The elephant is your huge idea. It seems impossible to get it going, but can you make it fly? The second book, which was just published by HarperCollins, is Surviving a Startup, which is basically what the title says. How do you survive as a startup? How do you break through when it's so incredibly competitive out there? And then another book that just came out this year also is The 5 Forces That Change Everything. And this is about how technology like AR, VR, metaverse, blockchain, AI, everything together, brain-computer interfaces, CRISPR, all these technologies are radically going to change business, our society, and our lives in the coming years, and how that will happen.
Such an interesting story, and going through all that. As a person that's been working for the past 10 years with innovation, and even before that, I'm sure that you worked on a lot of exciting projects, and also and also relevant to your latest book. What excites you the most in the tech world right now? What kind of trend or vertical or what comes to mind?
So there's so many exciting areas. And this is why it's so amazing, like to be in tech right now. It's literally, there's there's an abundance of innovation across all sectors and across all these different technologies. So for example, if you look at space technology, like the whole space ecosystem is booming. It's not just Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson, the guys with the big rockets. It's all the little companies in that ecosystem making everything from the software to different parts on the rockets to all these other things that are benefiting by this explosion in innovation and going into outer space. You look at gene editing with CRISPR, this amazing new tool in our discovery of the basic building blocks of life on this planet. We can now take evolution into our own hands. We can actually create new species of plants and animals, cure diseases that were uncurable before. It's absolute, the potential is so far out there that I think most people don't even realize what's coming down the pipe, in terms of this technology. And then you get into the whole artificial intelligence, which has really swept every industry and is transforming every industry right now. Blockchain, DeFi, all that's happening there, lots of innovation, and it goes on and on. I could go on and on. But you asked me what I'm most excited about. I'm excited about all of these. They're just exciting in different ways.
Understood. Yeah, I'm definitely also excited about the very same things. But one thing that's been on my mind recently is all the Web3 innovation. So everything related to blockchain and DeFi and NFTs and all that. So what's your view on that space? Because it seems like it's been for the things have been happening for the past 10 years, but lately it really accelerated and started picking up more traction. So what are your views on that?
So well, first of all, I think the amount of innovation happening in that space is phenomenal. And some amazing companies out there just experimenting. It's the Wild West. They're trying everything. There are no rules when it comes to DeFi and blockchain. People are out there doing the craziest stuff. I mean, if you look at NFTs, for example, it's sort of insane. Like the amounts of money people are paying for these little images and videos that they can get for free online, but they want to say they own them. And nobody quite knows what that means. Is it legal ownership? What are the legal versus the actual just owning it on the blockchain? What's the difference? There's a lot of nuances there. Somebody still owns the copyright. Just because you buy it on the blockchain doesn't mean you own the copyright, all these other things. But it's going to be very interesting where this goes in the future. So NFTs right now, I would say there's a lot of hype around them. It's a very interesting space. There's a lot of people promoting. You can imagine celebrities can really cash in on this. Big corporations, Warner Brothers owns Harry Potter. What could they do with all those NFTs? How much will people pay for the wand or the cloak? And the invisibility cloak? It could be enormous amounts of money on the blockchain. So very, very interesting. Gaming in that space, virtual worlds, the whole metaverse and people buying up property. We've had a lot of these ideas aren't new, right? We've had virtual worlds, we've had virtual currency. It's been around for a long time in the gaming world. I come out of games. So, I know this. I ran a virtual world in the early days. I understand this. So these aren't new concepts, but the idea of moving them to the blockchain, a decentralized system, tracking ownership on the blockchain, all this other stuff is new, and it's creating and it's very interesting that it's become so heavily monetized. And I think that's because of the whole crypto boom, right? It's so easy now for people have all this money. People have made a lot of money, so there's a lot of speculation going on if we look at it honestly, but very exciting. And when it comes to crypto, I have a lot of ideas on crypto. First of all, I believe, and this is my firm belief, is that crypto is the gamification of investing. Like what we've really done, like I come out of the gaming world. So to me, it's pretty apparent, investing used to be based on certain fundamentals. Like there's a stock and they have their PE ratio and, you look at the company and where it's headed and what, assets it owns. Some of these coins, Dogecoin and others, they were a joke, like Dogecoin was. It's a meme that was out there, put it out, see what happens. What is their value? Nobody can say what their value is except the marketplace. So there's different forces going on, a lot of speculation, like I said, but there's also gamification. So people don't really care what, necessarily the long-term value that this coin may provide. They don't know, right? It's such a big unknown. There's so many variables that will come into play because there's so many coins out there. And, which coin is going to, ultimately, are people going to coalesce around? Well, right now we see it around Ethereum and Bitcoin, definitely. A lot of the altcoins come and go. Which other ones will break through? There's Cardona and all these other ones that are vying, for top dog spot. But at the end of the day, a lot of people don't care. Like, it's a game to them. Like, they're in it and they're like saying, I don't care, like, which one wins in the end, but I do care what's going to happen over the next month. Like, and I'm going in and out of these, and it made investing in a way so much fun. And this is why, because in normal investing, if a stock goes up 50% a year in a year, you're like, wow, that's amazing, 50% in a year. But you're looking in the crypto world and these are going up. Oh, it went up 3,000% this year. A normal company just doesn't do that. Right? So if you look at gamers and what gamers want, it's the excitement of something going up 3,000%, 5,000%, 10,000%. You don't get that anywhere else. And that's what the blockchain offers in the way of, the type of investing going on right now in the people and the speculation. It's really, it's like we have taken, there's been this whole shift towards gamification with Robinhood, how Robinhood rolled out and everything else. And then you look at the crypto exchanges and they just take it, and cryptocurrencies, they take it to a whole nother level. And if you look at the NFT market, it's really the same thing. So people are going into, whether it's crypto punks or crypto kitties or whatever else it is, and they're bidding up these things, NBA Hotshot, they're bidding up these little videos and GIFs. If you would have asked people 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, how much would you pay for a crypto punk? And they would show you this little pixelated punk image. They'd be like, you got to be kidding. Like, I may pay a quarter for it, maybe, if I'm crazy, I'd spend $1 on it, whatever, these things are going for insane amounts of money. But when you look at it as a game, the whole process of buying and selling as a game, but you're playing for real money, then it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. People are like, well, this is the hot thing right now. And whatever the hot thing they're all moving into, they're bidding it up and then they're moving on. And I see that trend continuing, but I also see all this influx of money driving, fundamental innovation. And the blockchain is not static. We see it's continually evolving. It is not a static thing, and it's going where it takes us next. Nobody really knows, but what we do know is it's evolving fast, and it will be taking us whole new directions and opening up whole new vistas that we couldn't predict before. Just like with NFTs, nobody thought, wow, well, that would be a big deal, putting an image on the blockchain, and all of a sudden it's exploded. There are going to be a lot more explosions in the future.
Such an interesting take across gamification and NFTs and media and pop culture. I don't know if you know, but here in Asia, we have this phenomenon in the Philippines where people are leaving jobs to play games where they earn money, right? So there is a few quite popular that thanks to, different tokens. So the games have been tokenized. And because of that, people actually make a lot more money playing games than they do from their regular jobs, which is such an interesting phenomenon to see. And I think emerging markets gonna benefit more than developed markets because you don't need a lot of money to have pretty decent quality of life. And these kind of platforms are enabling that. And since you talk so much about, games and also NFTs, I'm curious, have you started investing yourself in that space, or have you started thinking perhaps to start something in that space?
Yes.
How are you thinking about that?
Yeah, so I am, I'm not, I diversify my investments, just so everybody knows. So I invest in a lot of different things, because you never know what's going to happen in the future. And I think that's a smart strategy overall, than just putting all your eggs in one basket and hoping that basket just goes up 10,000%. So I use a diversified investment strategy across everything. And in terms of, you said something really interesting. People are playing games to earn a living. Now, if we really look at what the metaverse is, I don't think the metaverse is Facebook. And people have talked, Facebook's made a big deal calling themselves Meta and all this stuff. But the metaverse fundamentally will revolve around games and gamification, is my belief. So in terms of people actually earning a living in the metaverse, playing these games, this was going on before the blockchain. So there were people who did earn a living off World of Warcraft, going out there and actually, farming and doing all the stuff that they need to do to build up characters and get items, and then they would sell them off. So that existed prior to this, but now it's being taken to the next level. It's much easier to get in and out of, because those marketplaces were pretty closed. It was hard to do transactions. Now we've opened it up, so it's easy to do these transactions between all these currencies and all these worlds and all these tokens, so much more fluid and liquid. That's really exciting. And you're going to see, I would say, a huge number of games are going to be cropping up here. And in the future, look out 10 years in the future, a lot of people, I would say a sizable portion of the population, will be earning their living in this metaverse, in this world where they're doing activities, creating value in a purely digital form around games and entertainment and virtual worlds. And so that I know people are doing it in the Philippines. Some people are doing it here. People are definitely leaving their day jobs here to trade crypto, which is essentially the same thing, a whole nother gamification level. They're like, hey, I could earn, this much at McDonald's every week, minimum wage, but I can go out there and in crypto, in a day, I can earn a month's salary. So I'm going to go and I'm going to try that. We're going to see more and more of that. That is a definite trend.
Yeah, I also have a friend who actually did exactly that. He makes a lot more money just trading all day rather than having a good job. So yeah, I see it happening not only in emerging markets but all over the place. But despite all the cool things happening in crypto, I still feel there is a bit of a bad reputation of the space. Maybe that's because of the 2017, all the ICOs that took place, and a lot of people kind of got burned out of that. And I was looking just yesterday at the total number of users of MetaMask, one of the wallets, and it seems like it's about 12 million. So a lot of people say that's the approximate size of the market. So we're still in the very early days. We have about 10, 20 million people that are actively trading or playing, that. So what do you think needs to happen so that we can onboard the rest of the world to the metaverse and have even more people that actually going to join the games or trading or anything else that's happening?
So, it earned a bad reputation. Let's face it. In all things, and especially in a digital economy, a digital world, there are scammers. So there are a lot of scammers out there. There are hackers who would hack into exchanges. There were corrupt exchanges. There were people doing ICOs with no intention. They'd Squid Game ICO. Those guys just took the money and ran. They didn't even apparently own the rights to use Squid Game. They just did it. And a lot of people jumped in thinking it was the next big thing without doing their diligence, and they got burned. So there'll be more of that, no doubt. And people, this is why I tell people, diversify. Like, you can play in this area, but, don't put your kids' money for college in there. Don't put your retirement money in there. Put money you can have fun with, like a game. You can afford to lose, and if you don't lose, if you make it big, great for you. So that's what I tell people, because it is highly speculative, highly risky, highly volatile. Like, that's what it's designed to do. Well, that's the attraction of it, right? That's what it does. That's what these crypto markets do really well, is volatility. So, what do we, you said there's probably an estimated 20 million people. It's a small number of people when you look at the world's population that are actively doing this. So what do we need to do to get everybody else on board? Well, I think that will happen naturally. So anything that adds value, anything that creates an experience you can't have elsewhere, like unique value, it will attract people who want that. So right now, the people who tend to be in it are the more adventurous people, the more technically inclined people, although with Coinbase and Robinhood and all these things, you don't have to be very technical to get into this anymore. And that's really broadened the on-ramps into this whole crypto universe and NFT universe. So the on-ramps are getting better and better. You remember in the old days, it was extremely hard to buy Bitcoin. Like you really had to be a geek, and you had not only a geek, you had to work on it to actually figure it all out. Now it's pretty brain dead simple. I mean, it is, and it's only going to get easier. So what holds a lot of people back is that they just don't understand it. Like, I'll talk to my mom, I'll talk to, I traveled across the whole US. I just did a trip across the US, and they are talking to people and they're like, they don't really understand it, And so people are afraid of what they don't understand. And I think it's going to take time for people to get used to the idea, to dabble in it, and then to participate more fully. I think you're going to see a lot more young people doing it than older people. Let's just face it. I think the older people, it's like, it's too far beyond them. But you look at the young generation, it's easy, right? They're on there already. We're going to see a lot more young people adopting this and playing with how it's used. So will they create social networks on the blockchain? Will they create, they're creating metaverses on the blockchain, virtual worlds, augmented reality, all this stuff will be happening. And the more applications out there, the broader the appeal of those applications, the more people will participate. So a lot of young people don't have a lot of money. So the whole speculation part isn't as attractive to them, but they'll be more interested in the entertainment and socializing part. And we're also seeing all the big players jump on. So lots of big investment banks, you keep hearing from Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan and all these other ones, that are generally very conservative. Your Facebook is, has embraced they did their own play on the blockchain, which failed, which didn't amount to anything, that their whole token, which I was quite happy about, by the way, because Facebook doesn't really deserve to have a win there. They haven't behaved ethically in the past, and I wouldn't trust them in the future. And their whole play on the metaverse, honestly, I think that's Zuckerberg's way of deflecting all the bad attention that they've been getting for all their really irresponsible activities. So I don't think him naming his company Meta will make any difference at all. I think ultimately, my feeling is there are different types of activities people want. And this is something I want to address. So let's say that Facebook moves into this space and they create a virtual world, augmented reality, all this stuff, which I'm sure they're going to do. Will it necessarily be successful? And will they even try it on the blockchain? Well, my feeling is, just like they launched the coin, there's no guarantee that just because it's Facebook, it's going to be successful. Google tries a lot of stuff and it fails. Like it tried its own social network and it failed, fell flat on its face. So these big companies aren't necessarily the ones who are going to be pioneering the way. So they're not going to be pushing the envelope. They're not really going to be defining the future. They may buy some of the winners, and that's where they're more likely to be successful. Just like Zuckerberg, he's not a dumb guy, right? He bought WhatsApp, he bought Instagram. His acquisitions have been quite smart. Their internal development of all their different apps and stuff, their track record isn't that great. But let's face it, it's hard to launch a hit app. That's why the valuations when you launch it are so incredibly high. They're unicorns because it's really, really hard to do. In the metaverse, my feeling is Zuckerberg has two reasons. One is to deflect attention from all the bad stuff he's been doing. But number two is he doesn't want to be displaced. So he is hedging his bets. He is basically saying, we've got to be on top of this latest technology trends, because if we aren't, somebody else will, and they'll create the next version of a social network and they'll eat our lunch, right? Somebody's going to do it. Now, what I think the challenge is that in social networks in particular, it is very hard to create. There's virtual worlds and there's social networks, and we don't want to get them too confused, because a virtual world is something that you tend to spend a lot of time in. It's immersive. You can't get into a virtual world, just pop in and pop out. It doesn't work that way. Like, you have to spend time in it. You have to figure it out. It's harder to navigate. It's harder to communicate quickly. Like, you have to meet other avatars in a space, interact with them in that space. That takes time. If you look at how people use social networks today, whether it's Instagram, Snap, Facebook, WeChat, doesn't matter what it is, how they use them is they're popping in and out, like really, really fast. Like, I got 5 seconds, I'll check my Facebook, I'll check my Instagram, I'll reply to somebody. It's just in and out throughout the day for really short increments of time. And this is totally the opposite of how you interact with in a virtual world environment. So in a virtual world environment, and like I said, I ran a virtual world company early on, people spend a lot, you have to spend a lot of time or you don't get the value out of it. So there are two different fundamental ways of using these applications, which don't necessarily mesh. And I know Facebook bought Oculus because they wanted to, basically stake their claim in this whole virtual space. But I don't know if it'll translate. I honestly think, at least in the near term, it's going to be primarily gaming. Like, gaming dominates, like gamification and gaming will dominate virtual worlds and virtual reality. There will be experiential stuff, but it's different. What I found is that, the Second Lives of the world, all these places, Second Life was really cool, not because people wanted to hang out there, but because of the whole economy, right? There was a niche group who loved to hang out in Second Life, right? But because of the whole economy they created. And that's what we're seeing now with these virtual worlds on the blockchain, right? A hyped up economy, but economy that translates into real money and real activity. And if you look at it, what is the economy? It's a game. It's like we've just been talking about with NFTs. People are buying and selling virtual goods. They're making virtual goods. They're all of this in the space. So it's really, if you don't have gameplay in there, virtual worlds are pretty boring, because fundamentally, the thing that people want to do is, when they chat with people, they generally want to interact with people they know, fundamentally. Or there are two types of behavior. One, you interact with people you know, like on Facebook. And number two, you are broadcasting. And that's more like a Twitter or an Instagram, or TikTok, right? Where you're just putting it out there for the world, but you're not really personally interacting with all these fans that are viewing it. I mean, some people do, but it's not, most people, they don't care about strangers. Like, you don't want to spend for a lot of time interacting with strangers. So when you go into these virtual worlds, will you hang out with your friends? Well, if you want to spend a long time, and do an involved activity or experience, you will hang out with your friends. If you don't want that long time thing, which on mobile and people on the go, they don't want to do that, right? They just want in and out real quickly. Then you're still going to stick to kind of the traditional mobile social network. It just works so much better. In these deep immersive worlds that we'll see, though, there's going to be there's going to be all these gamification activities, and the ones that tie into real money, like we're seeing now on the blockchain with NFTs and these virtual worlds where you can trade all the different items in the virtual world, buy and sell them, that people love them. Like, they love it, right? Because it's a combination of kind of fantasy combined with Las Vegas, so the whole gaming virtual world thing combined with Vegas, that's pretty tantalizing for a lot of people. And I see that sector growing.
So much to unpack here. A lot of very interesting observations and points about what's going on with Facebook and in general gamification. You're very right that Facebook has been very successful in acquiring companies that are massive successes. I think it's a lot harder in the Web3 space to do that, because many of the Web3 companies are actually decentralized. So convincing an entire community to join Facebook would be very hard, given the sentiment about Facebook lately. So I think, on the one hand, that's a big challenge. But on the other hand, a lot of people argue that because it's a founder-led company, he has more probability of success than regular companies that just hired an external CEO, right? Because founders, they really understand the importance of making these big bets and like pushing really hard to make it work. But let's see if things are going to work out. But yes, so many interesting observations in that space. And Steve, I'm also curious to find out, like, you're right, you read a lot, you attend a lot of events, and obviously you know a lot about a variety of different topics. Where do you find your inspiration? Like what are the go-to web blogs, courses, people? Like how do you find all that information, and then how do you curate it?
Yeah. So, well, great. Well, one of them is meeting really smart people like you, like all around the world. So that really inspires me. Like you made so many good points just about this talk, and you just made a really good point. Facebook can't really go in and buy one of these decentralized communities. They're not going to sell to Facebook ever, right? They like their whole point is to be decentralized. Facebook is all about centralization. That's why their whole cryptocurrency play didn't work. And most big companies are. Google won't be able to acquire them either. So they're really, and that's some of the beauty of DeFi and decentralization and the whole thing, is that it's owned by the community. So right off the bat, really good point. So I get my inspiration. I do a lot. I network a lot now online because we're all doing it on Zoom. So talking to amazing people like you, having these conversations, sharing ideas, hearing like what you say. But I also have a lot of other sources. So I'm out there. First of all, I love books. I not only write books, but I consume at least a book a week. A full book, not a summary of a book, like a full book a week. And one of my methods is audiobooks. So I'm really a fanatic about audiobooks. And part of that's because I'm dyslexic. So I have trouble reading since I was a child. My brain mixes up the words. And so audiobooks allow me to overcome that. And I've gotten really good at absorbing information really fast on audiobooks. So I play them at double speed. And I have no problem now actually absorbing everything at double speed. In fact, if it's at normal speed, regular speed, to me, it feels slow. Like I can't even it feels like they're talking in slow motion. So I do at least one audiobook a week, and I do it across all topics. So I get books on science, I get books on business, I get books on sociology and psychology, and I also get history books and fiction. So I just like all these different sources, and all of them are, blend, in your mind, if you can get the more different sources of information, the more different sources, points of view you have in different ways of visualizing the world, the better. So I do a lot of reading online. So I just go through so many news sites, so many like tech blogs, like, everything from the popular ones, like Slashdot and TechCrunch and you name it. I'm on all of those. I do podcasts. So I go to a lot of different podcast sources. I'm always trying different ones, like I'll bounce. I don't stick with any for too long, but I sample a lot of different podcasts to get different points of view, see how they're at it. I do a lot in the blockchain space. I do a lot in the business space and innovation space. So that's my technique. It's just the more different points of view, the better. And then I love traveling. Like I just took a 4.5-month trip across the United States and back. To me, that's another great way to absorb information, to meet people you wouldn't normally meet, get different points of view. And, I'm going to do more overseas traveling, but we're talking about this, especially to Asia, as soon as those quarantines end, because the quarantines, those 3-week quarantines are too brutal. I can't put up with that.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I was just actually reading a book called Where Good Ideas Come From. And that was the main thesis of the book was, you need to put yourself in situations where a lot of serendipitous things happen, whether you read and explore different podcasts, you meet interesting people. And that's why some big cities are quite interesting, because you have so many serendipitous opportunities to meet cool people and to get interesting ideas. But yeah, hopefully, the world's going to open up a bit more, and you're going to be able to travel, and we're going to be able to travel being here in Asia. I think we just launched the first vaccinated lanes here, in between Europe and Singapore, that allow us to travel without quarantine. So
Really?
definitely things.
Okay.
Yep, Germany, UK, Denmark, so a few countries. So definitely things are getting better, and Australia as well. So yeah, looking forward to that. And one last question, because I'm sure that you must be quite busy. Is basically, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs that want to enter the Web3 space? Because it can seem quite intimidating on the outside. The metaverse, even though it's still constrained to just, let's say, 10, 20 million people, it's still very complicated and very technical. So what advice would you give to people that want to explore the space and enter?
So my advice is always the same. Just dive in. Like literally, you can't learn it if you don't do it. And nobody's going to sit there. You could try to take a course on it, but the course isn't going to really do much. In today's world, things are moving so fast. You have to continually educate yourself. Like, even if you're in the space, you're always upgrading your education, because every week there's something new and important that just changed in the metaverse and in the blockchain space and all these different spaces. So the great thing is you can get up to speed pretty fast. Like, if you focus, like I'd tell anybody, take 3 months, immerse yourself in the space, get an account, you can use Coinbase, you can use any Binance, you can use any of these, and just start figuring it out. Go to these blockchain-based virtual worlds, start experimenting with them, go onto these NFT sites like OpenSea and start seeing, what's happening there. Another area I'm super excited about is DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. We haven't even talked about that. Like, that's a whole nother area that's just exploding in the space. Super exciting. Join them, like join a bunch of them, see how they work. It's the only way to learn. You could read about some blogs on them. You can watch videos about them on YouTube. That's all good stuff. You're not going to be able to really take a great course on these because the professors are like way behind. They're going to be way behind you. You can get ahead of everybody else just by doing it.
Yeah, I just finished reading Skin in the Game by Nassim Taleb. I don't know if you read the book, but it's exactly about that. You want to learn something, you need skin in the game. You need to get your hands dirty. You need to get involved. Otherwise, you just can't argue that you know it. But Steve, that has been amazing. I learned so much, and I think there's a lot more to explore. Of course, there's just a ton of cool stuff going on around the world right now. But I really value your time, and I appreciate you sharing all that. It's been an amazing interview, and yeah, thank you so much for doing it.
Thank you. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, super easy to find me. Just go to founderspace.com, founderspace.com. You can find me, you can find my books like Surviving a Startup there, tons of free videos for people. And you can also reach me on LinkedIn. So I'm very easy to contact. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you liked it, hit the subscribe button and share it with your friends. You can help us create more great content by subscribing and sharing. Also, if you want to access our online startup program, our investor network, and our entrepreneur resources, just come to founderspace.com.